we're back. Sorry about the delay. I'm just sorting out chat. You have a guest on the stream. Welcome, Tom Sweeny, aka Gabe.
Hello, I'm so happy to be here. This is fucking awesome.
Everything's changed on my end now because I'm no longer using my webcam. I'm display capturing the way Mitch does for our actual show. So, I can't see the chat right now unless you want to see all the ugly back end.
I have the stream pulled up, so if Chad has any questions, they're more than welcome to ask, and I would love to answer anything.
Hey, that's the way.
Love to answer anything that they want to know.
And then that one, and then that one, and then that one. Oh, never mind. What's the other code? Yeah, so chat's going to be... feel free to ask Sween anything you want. And we theoretically are going to finish off the Roaring Horn Villa today.
Longhorn Villa. Oh, okay.
So the Roaring Horns are a noble family in Waterdeep. And playing Descent into Avernus at my local game store last half of last year. I played Tovarish Roaring Horn. He was sort of a dispossessed son of an obscure branch of the family, so he didn't know any of this existed, largely because I didn't know any of that existed when I first wrote him. The Roaring Horns are party people. They every night of the weekend and half the nights of the week, fights, drinking, carrying on. It's amazing. So as you can see, I actually had the map sideways. So I actually built it wrong. The north is not up, and we didn't realize that till towards the end of last session, which was number 3. So in the world of Law and Order, this Belzound Street has become Belzound Place because it's now closed off on the north end.
Oh.
And that's okay, that happens. Roaring Horns, they're like, we need a bit of extra space for our training yard and our toilets, so we'll just throw some money at the Council of Waterdeep. I heard a ding. I think that means that someone's just followed us, so I'll give them a shout out. Thank you very much for joining us. Here we are. So, one thing I remembered last time that we need to sort out.
Ooh, another follower pulling through as well.
Chimney. Oh, hey, thank you so much. We are on fire and we're just getting warmed up. So, because we have some fireplaces on the lower floor, we need to be adding some chimneys in the corresponding section. So we're lucky that this wall roughly lines up with that wall. So we're just going to go ahead, drop a chimney. That's 1, 2, 3. I
actually really like this map design. I'm super poor at it. Like, I'm not good at designing maps. I'm very much so better at doing like stories. Like, I can design the fuck out of an encounter. Like, that's no problem for me. But I can't do maps. Maps, like, in my mind, it just gets jumbly, and I don't know where things go, and my brain gets frantic when I do designs. But when I usually create, like, particularly like story points, I'm really, really good at that.
Okay, that's cool. That's interesting. I was having a similar conversation with someone on Twitter about world building. And they're like, I love character design, but I hate world building. And so I was like, okay, well, here's the way I think of it though, right? And because this is a thicker exterior wall, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, that chimney can absolutely go straight up through there. World building, map design, they're all just different expressions of character building and storytelling. So
I'm not very bad at world building. I understand how to create a world. I usually try to start from scratch, which is really hard to start from scratch world building. But like I can do like the world. I can do like the geography, flora and fauna for the most part. I can do biomes.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but when it comes to like, this is the map where we're going to have X encounter. I'm
Yep.
like, what? Where do I put the walls? How do I make people come in rooms? Do people come through wall? Do people come through the walls? Are there
Yep.
trap doors, stuff like that? Because like
Okay.
that's technically what like because one of my friends who's a very good DM told me that like technically when you think about it, the CR of a fight is based on entrances into the room, how the area you fight in. It
Yeah.
really plays into how
Yeah.
hard an encounter is.
There's a strong element of understanding how the environment works. So we sort of cheated a little bit. So this is from the 1988, I think. Hey, I'm hearing that sound a lot, and I think we have Sween to thank. The man's just bringing the love
No.
with him.
Ah, don't worry about it. This is you. They're here for you. You're the DM. You're the person that matters right now. I'm just a peon.
The DM is only as good as the players at his table. Because an excellent DM with a bunch of shit ass players is just going to have a terrible time. So this is from the city set box, the city systems box set from second edition, I think. Um,
Sweet.
and it was designed to help people design pretty much any city. But the example city that they used for the box was Waterdeep. There's
Okay.
still hard copies of this box set floating around. They're about 200 to 250 Australian. I'm definitely going to make an investment in a hard copy of that for Law and Order, yeah, medium term goals. Um, and they had the Roaring Horn family villa there, so I saw that and went, that's the map making project. And as you can see,
I
like we've changed some of this stuff. This storeroom has become a bathroom
Oh
because we're like,
wow.
so this looks like it has, this was the largest bedroom. It had a fireplace. Who has a storeroom off their master bedroom? Who just goes, oh yeah, that could, we'll just fill it full of buck. No, man, that's an ensuite. So that's an ensuite now. Um,
Pretty cool.
I made a mistake reading the map the first time, and I thought that there was only one door to this bedroom and there were two doors to this bedroom. So we were like, okay, who has two doors to their bedroom? Someone who's like in and out all the time, lots of parties, lots of guests, like just doesn't give a shit. This is the jock of the family. So, we got a pile of clothes, we got bottles and shit on the table. Uh, Comparison, the guy with only one door might be the nerd of the family. So,
That's
we
really
put
cool.
some.
Really good attention to detail, Mike. Jeez.
Well, it's really just about, it's like you said, the challenge rating of a map is often based around where are the doors, where's okay, everything, our cameras will have messed up a little bit because our our music just dropped off the planet and I don't understand why. I'll bring it back.
You
Apologies
got
for the
shit
weird
kicked down
text
like
that's
a little
about
bit.
to appear.
Did it get
Inactivity. That was
noticeably darker in my bedroom? What the fuck? I guess the sun is going down. Oh, that's so bright. Oh
Everything's going
Lord.
horribly wrong and I love it.
Oh, Lord. It's so bright. Okay. Hopefully this is better.
Okay. So, and then, there's the Roaring Horn Villa was largely just rooms with tables, rooms with storage, rooms with beds. So again, like, okay, how do we explain why each one is different? Well, the main room is obviously going to be like the big grand hall. This is
Hmm.
where all the parties are going to be. So we actually grabbed this funky looking dwarven table, put a couple of layers onto it, and blended it so it looked even better. Massive bear rug, like a dire bear rug. A couple of chairs in front of a fire, horns over it. Like this is the big grand one. Um, this room had storage as well as a table, so we're like, okay, this is just like the back room. Maybe some of the seedier people playing cards or whatever. And if the Roaring Horns are like larger than life, lust for life adventurers, maybe we need like a dining hall, adventure planning room. So, we chucked that in there, which looks a little bit more like a barracks sort of a meeting room. And then we go upstairs. We sort of discussed, okay, this is going to be the master bedroom, so we'll convert that storage room into an ensuite. But, there's another room with tables and chairs. Well, okay, well, they don't have an actual family room, like family dinners, fancier events, a den where you might sit and drink your sherry and smoke your cigars and shit. So, it's about finding different ways to use the same, a kitchen, a dining room, a living room. Well, is it the lady of the house's kitchen where she cooks things because she can and she wants to, or is it the servant's kitchen? Stuff like that. So this music is not playing, and everything's going wrong. I love it. Um, I'll have to
That's really
give everything
cool.
an overhaul between now and Tuesday night. So yeah, I added the chimneys. This is important, and I think one of the things we realized towards the end of last stream we were missing is, okay, if they're gonna have like family banquets, where are the servants? Where
Like
does shit
their own
get
bear.
cooked in here? So we just put a couple of text labels to remind us. I also realized, okay, there's the master bedroom has its own little commode area. There's there's no way to just grab and scroll. You got to scroll in and out. Incarnate, please fix that. Uh, we put lavender next to all the toilets, and we were like, okay, let's. Where's everyone else going to take a dump? Well, we'll put it outside, past the.
Okay, that makes sense.
And again, bit of lavender. But one of the great things about this, we installed a balcony. This balcony wasn't there. This was just a straight up wall. And we're like, nah, man, there's a balcony. Rich people have balconies. So now, for example, let's say, and this isn't going to happen, so no spoilers. I don't see this happening with the Roaring Horn estate, but you need to do some infiltration, or you need to be picking a target. So now you've got this option, like I'm going to give you a simplified version of the map, and you might be like, okay, we're going to place Nixie with her longbow right here on the
Ooh.
roof of the bathroom, and she's got line of fire straight into there. Now we get our face man to talk his way upstairs, have a meeting somewhere around here, and then be like, oh, tell me about this artwork on the wall over there, or let's just step into the corner and talk quietly. Now you've moved them into Nixie's line of sight.
Oh, that's pretty
Or
cool.
maybe you get Tenzo, and he's got line of sight to cast a charm spell straight in through there. Um, just giving you different ways of approaching things.
That's cool. So you're saying is that we're gonna come in here, we're gonna kill people in here.
Potentially, maybe you need to extract somebody.
Okay,
Maybe the
yeah.
Roaring Horns are going to be like, okay, so this criminal looking dude, we're going to get him in. Maybe they'll be allies, and maybe they're going to be like, okay, so
All right, cool. Because I keep
let's.
forgetting that we're like police officers. Like I know that, but I forget that because we're pretty checkered officers of the law. So we do a lot of rather rambunctious things. So
Yes, very
I
much.
I am going to see this as a officer of the law, and I'm going
Hmm.
to not harm anyone while I do this. I'm going to do it very clean and by the books and super punctual.
You'll
Like,
probably get a better idea of where we're going. So I can see this prologue adventure winding up at the end of our next session, episode 4.
hmm
And that's when, so yeah, we kind of dropped you all in the thick of it in media res. The beginning of the next chapter is where I'm gonna start laying out a bit more of the groundwork for what this campaign's gonna look like. This is great because it's been like throw everyone in there and be like, okay, how do you respond? Go a bit nuts, have some fun. Now you're gonna meet like the small blonde halfling that shows up in my overlays as the like map goes here.
hmm
That's your boss. You're actually going to meet her. And watching Tenzo try to like talk his way out of shit with her is going to be amazing because she doesn't take shit. Um, and
I'm
you're
excited
going
for
to
that.
actually sort of get a grander scope. Like, okay, You guys are going to become an experimental task force for the City Watch.
That sounds amazing.
Okay?
That sounds amazing.
It's the Waterdeep FBI, you know?
Are we like the wet team for Waterdeep?
Sometimes. There's going to,
Yeah.
I'm writing out the meta for the campaign on World Anvil. I started that last night. And I'm like, okay, realizing like I really want to blend different genres. There's going to be some scenes in here where it's going to be like, okay, imagine you're playing Rainbow Six, but not Siege, Las Vegas, that sort of old school planning points of entry, timing, shit like that. But imagine if all that was taking place in Fantasy World.
That sounds super fucking dope.
Towards the end, there's going to be a point where I want to do like D&D's first Halo insertion.
Ooh, how would you explain that?
Do I spoil the surprise yet or no?
Yes, you don't spoil the surprise. I want to see that.
When it
If you
comes,
know
you're going to be
anything
like,
about, if you know anything about me, you know that living with Chris Ray Gun for years of my life made me I am a huge, huge Halo fan. I love that game franchise.
okay,
So
when I say Halo, you know like what the original high altitude, low opening?
yes.
Yes. So this is,
Okay.
it's going to be amazing. I think, I hope all of that. Okay, so
Okay, that's very exciting. That super excited me. I cannot wait to see what's gonna happen.
So yeah, it's I like the idea of just having a little bit of chaos at the beginning, so everyone in in the party can like explore their characters a bit, especially the newbies. It just they're not feeling pressured to like we need to do this or that. Some of the like yourself, Ren as Charise, like okay guys, we have perps. We need to deal with this and that. Gabe right at the very beginning, like guys, we're on duty here. Do we just very glad you all abandoned your post, as you could probably guess now. Things would have been rather nasty if you hadn't. But, yeah, time's coming when you're going to be like, oh, this is the world we're in. This is big. And it's going to be a huge reversal of the current model. Like,
That's gonna be
adventurers.
that's really really cool.
Adventurers
I
are
like
supposed to be
I like the
ducking
idea
the
of
city
it.
guard. Hmm?
I like the idea of it because of like it. Well, one, this is new for me because of the fact that I've always played as like a sparkling good character. Like I always play
Yep.
good people in games. I very rarely go down like the evil path in games. This character is not evil, but they are sure as fuck chaotic.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what happens is it's going to be weird because we are technically the law of the area. Like
Oh, yeah.
we are the people that enforce the law. So it's going to be really strange seeing how one, the rest of the world interacts with us because we're like the feds, like if we go into like a mercenary place, we're probably gonna get stares because we're the fucking police.
Yeah. You
If
guys
we
are the
go to any of
NPCs,
yeah, exactly, which is so fucking strange.
That's
Which is gonna be
the
cool because we're gonna
whole
become
idea,
strong NPCs. That's gonna be crazy because there's always like, hey, watch out for X character. He's like was part of the guard for like 20 years, and he's like really not someone to be played with. As a player character, you hear that all the time. But now we're gonna eventually be those NPCs, and it'll be like, hey, Waterdeep, especially this area, tries to stay pretty clean of bullshit because there's like a level 20 fucking ranger that like lives in this area and he
Mm-hmm.
patrols it. And there's also like a fucking like cleric of like a really strong god who like kind of holds shit down in this area. So like I'd rather you not come here and look for problems.
Yeah, exactly. Like you guys are gonna be. It's in some ways like I want to find as many inversions, and I don't want to just be inverting shit for inversion's sake. I'm not going to be like J.J. Abrams with the new Star Wars. Um,
Yeah,
but I want to
I
find
feel you.
clever ways to challenge the common trope. So, you know, if you guys are doing a warehouse raid, for example, but you can't kill anyone unless absolutely necessary, but suddenly you've got a dozen guards who are challenge raiding 1/8, if it was a straight up combat scenario, you'd be like the woodsman in Hoodwinked. Did you ever see Hoodwinked?
Yeah, of
Yeah, where the
course.
woodsman learns how to use the axe and he's just skipping through the
Yeah,
trees, cutting them all down. You'd be like
yeah.
that, but you can't do that. And the moment any of them see you and raise the alarm, that's it, mission failed. So
That's
suddenly, challenge rating 1/8 characters are terrifying. But at the same time, you get like a lawful good adventurer or any of the good or lawful aligned adventurers, and they're level like 16 and they just squit you with their thumb, and you front up and you're like, dude, you can't be here. You can't be here, this is illegal. And they're like, oh, well, I could kill you, but then I'd have the entire city watch on my ass, and I don't want that. So, like, challenge rating 8 or 9 characters become like a non-issue.
that's so cool. It's such a that's such a reverse of like just a flip, a flip. Because I'm used to being the guy that's like, oh, you can't be there, and I'm like, ah, man, all right, I'm gonna sneak in after you leave though. But like this is just it just changed the dynamic because we are the people that tell people they can't do stuff.
Yep.
It's cool. It's like a power trip almost until you realize like you gotta answer to like, the higher ups in Waterdeep, which is gonna blow, but like whatever. I hear you. So when you use fortitude, and you talk in old D&D,
Don't cite the old
you
magic to
talk
me, witch.
you talk in pre Third Sundering. That is the kind of language you speak. What edition did you start with, Mike?
I got my start on D&D with 3.5.
Oh,
So I
okay.
had actually no, I tell a lie. I started with Baldur's Gate on the PC, so that was second
2E.
ed because that was
Yeah.
Thaco. And then I that wasn't bad, but to me that wasn't a D and I didn't play it as a D&D fan. I played it as a fantasy video game fan. I
Oh yeah.
solidly started playing D&D, like role playing my characters, planning them out, getting into intrigue. That was 3.5 with Neverwinter Nights.
Wow. Oh, you played never. I myself, I started playing D&D in fifth edition. That's when I got into the game.
Mm-hmm.
But my uncle, who I inherited my comic book love, my fantasy love, all of that, he played Baldur's Gate, the original one.
Oh, yep.
And I remember like watching him play and like learning so much, like this. He was just like he was like my hero. He was like, this is my nerdy like messiah. My uncle was like the coolest dude ever to me,
Yep.
and he would teach me all of the cool stuff about like Baldur's Gate. And I forgot that Baldur's Gate was a Dungeons and Dragons game for years. I didn't
Yeah.
know. And I went on to like I got into my late teens. Like I started playing D&D again when I was like 20 is when I got back into it as a person.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa, what's happened? This game is so cool. And I got in again right before 5 came out. So I was starting to learn 4E. And then my friends were like, 4E sucks balls. You shouldn't play that. But
Mm-hmm.
5th edition got really soon. And that's when I think it was like D&D Go or something like that. When it first got released.
D&D
And
Next, I think they originally
next,
called it.
yeah, it was
They
next.
were
And I
because
remember,
fourth ed was a shit pile train wreck, so they really had to go hard on the branding for fifth ed.
yeah. I remember fourth E being like not liked, and I remember D&D Next coming out, and this was like right around the time that the first Critical Role series came out, the very first, like the
Mm-hmm.
beginning of it. And I remember watching them play and looking over the book, and I was like, oh, this is really cool. I remember that initially the first thing that came to mind was the Paladin. I thought like based on what I could see from the beginning, the Paladin was an amazing class. I was like, oh, that's so many cool abilities that can just happen at any time and they can do all this cool stuff. And I remember I started playing it, but then after I played 5E at first, my friends got me into they got me into 3.5, and I played 3.5 for like a solid year.
Yeah.
And I love 3.5, but every time I've played 3.5, I've completely fucked the story that my DM wants to have for me. Like they always want to have this kind of story, and I just take the worst feats So I just fuck everything up for them. And they're like, you're like level 8 and your crit range is like 10 to like 20. You can hit crits pretty much every time you're on. I'm like, yeah, I know. That's the point of my character because I want to fuck this world up for you. And they hated it. They hate it so much. And then I played Pathfinder. And Pathfinder did a lot of fixing for 3.5. I personally think it did a lot of fixing for 3.5. But it's still the same bullshit. You can still become way, way, way too strong, which I love. And it's so much diversity in that game. I love Pathfinder. I'm a really huge fan of that game in general.
Do you hear about where Pathfinder came from? Pathfinder
Wasn't
was
it?
almost a direct result of fourth ed,
Yeah,
which
I heard
I
that
can
it was
respect.
so disliked. They changed so much in fourth edition that people that were working for, I think people that worked for Wizards of the Coast actually, not wizards, they weren't wizards yet, were they? Wizards for
Wizards was,
3.5?
I've got third edition books behind me on the shelf there. Next one down from the fifth ed, but
I didn't
yeah, I
realize it
think
was.
Wizards was third edition. Wizards was
I know
third
they
edition, but
changed
they still were like very heavily using TSR.
TSR. There you go. That's what it was.
It
TSR were the people that finalized the stuff for 4th, and people were like, "I hate it. We hate this. We don't want this."
Yeah, absolutely, man. Fifth ed, I think, was sort of them going back to.
Oh, 1 second, but I'm gonna have to mute you first. I got a weird call. I'll be
Okay.
right back, guys. Right back.
Okay, so we're just piling some random food on the bench, on the prep bench. Yep, knives. Knives are good. The always want some knives where the ribs and other chopped meat are. I'm just gonna flip that. Should have just done that in the first place. Okay. More veggies, I guess. Oh, that says rotten peaches, but I thought it looked like an onion or a turnip or something, so we're just gonna make it an onion or a turnip or something because might as well. Now this is a. Oh no, that's fine. We can still do that. I think we might change to our tavern songs. We'll get a little bit more upbeat. Uh, maybe just some. What if we had like a sink or something somewhere? Okay, food barrels. Food barrels are great. Let's set up a. Let's set up a food storage corner. Hey, welcome back. You muted, buddy. Yes way. You're still muted. I'm just reading your lips.
Did you read my lips? That was so fucking cool.
I'm half deaf,
No
dude.
way.
Like, if someone's given me a really complex sentence, I'm sort of like, I think I call that word. But if it's a stock standard, like if I'm expecting a certain response, I read the lips. I'm like, I know what you just said. It's
That's
great
really
with Jess.
good.
She forgets that she's muted, and I'll have a conversation that goes like back and forth 3 or 4 times, and I'm like, sweetheart, you muted.
That's crazy. I cannot relive to the life of me. Super terrible at it. But that was really dope that you were able to read my lips. That's fucking cool as shit. All right, guys. Anybody in the stream have any questions about my thought process when I create my completely thrilling and completely unique and never Geralt of Rivia-esque characters ever? Anybody? No Dritz, no Erden-esque characters. No dark elves with two swords that I made right after I saw Dritz and thought I was original, and people were like, "Bro, you suck." That's literally just Dritz.
I read a horror story from a DM about someone who just straight up wanted to play Vexalia.
That sucks. That sucks so much.
Right.
I couldn't imagine someone, because like, I'm a huge fan of Critical Role. I love it. But those are very, like, not so much the players. The players are very respectful, but the characters within his world, they're always super wild characters. Like, particularly the twins. The twins were crazy. Like, I couldn't imagine having them in a game world I was playing. And then, like, this season was Beauregard. Like, I would hate to have a Beau in my... I hate Beau. I hate that character with all my heart. I hate Beauregard. He's my least favorite character from all the Critical Role series. And that's crazy because Keyleth is one of my favorite characters. I love Keyleth, hated Beauregard.
I haven't seen any of season 2, by the way.
Any of it?
I stopped just after they took out the Green Dragon. And it's not that I didn't like it so much as I'm a ridiculously hyper-focused sort of person. So I can't be working on something and just having crit roll on in the background the way some of my friends and other people do.
Do that. I'm very much so ADD. Like,
yeah. I keep finding myself just like, wait, what was that? And then I gotta I gotta go back another couple of minutes, and yeah, it's just frustrating.
Yeah, I like listen to music, play video games, and watch a video about like some sort of lore at the same time. And I get most of all of it, but there's always little bits of each of it that I don't get. So I'm like, is MF Doom inside of like Baldur's Gate 3? No, right? Like, that's not real, right?
Yeah.
And then I spend the whole night wondering if, like, did they really put MF Doom in Baldur's Gate? Like, that sounds like it could make sense, but like, no, right? Would they?
Ooh, yes. Let's just throw an unplucked bird on the table. Not that big. I'm sure birds that big exist, but that'll do.
I mean, rocks exist in this universe,
true.
So I can imagine.
Okay.
Have you ever took a moment to like think of like the life in a world of like any D&D setting, like this? How horrifying existence must be, just living in this world. Like, living in our world, we have to worry about like COVID was real, you know, like, and that's horrible. That sucks. But like, Thermorphosis is real. Like, mind flayers just come to your town, take everybody in your town, and turn you into mind flayers. Or you can just be in a guarded place, and oh look, gnolls! A bunch of gnolls that show up and eat my town.
At no point going to work in the city am I gonna look out the window and see a giant fuck off bird being like, this is how I die.
Like, I couldn't sleep. I'd be like, I can't do this.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nowhere that is safe. There's no like particular kind of place they can go to be like, oh, I'll be fine. Because everywhere there's some fuck shit. There's this horror everywhere. You go to the desert and you got fucking like, I don't know, like elementals and bullshit that just show up there. You go to the jungles are probably the worst because there's undead and shit in the jungle, and like dinosaurs. You go to the Arctic and like, oh look, you're fighting yetis, big ass fucking yetis that can sometimes talk and are like 20 feet tall. Like, it's just nightmares. It's just a bunch of nightmare fuel.
This is another one of the themes that I want to explore with Law and Order, because, you know, they're like, okay, I'm reading through the book, I'm reading through Waterdeep Dragon Heist, Dungeon of the Man Mage, I'm reading through the earlier stuff about running an urban setting, and there's just all of these random encounters. Like, if you're in alleyways, you might encounter a skulk, or an invisible invisible horror, or things coming up from the sewers. You're like, okay, if you're an adventurer, that's a day in the life, that's work. But you know who else lives in the street? Homeless people, beggars, like even just merchants on their way home, you know. And like you don't really get time to stop and consider what it is like for life, you know, homicide life on the street. So, you know, we're gonna actually have a look at how that looks to be on the street level, which is one of the reasons. I know we talked about, hey, what level are we starting at? I'm like, no, you guys are starting at level 1. I want you guys to see what, and I want to showcase for our viewers, what does the city look like at level 1?
That's super. I respect that. That is super dope. It's weird. It's weird thinking about the mundane aspects of the world within worlds full of so much magic and like fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
There's a level of like, because like when you read The Witcher, or when you're like reading like some like Tolkien or like Star Wars-esque world, you never really think about the guy that works at the shoe shop that just makes shoes and then goes home afterwards and eats like very bland soup every night. Like, he is never a person that's even focused. I understand he's a boring life, like, you suck. But I want to read your story. But at the same time, his story is still a story within the world.
Yeah, I think it's one of the reasons The Mandalorian did so well, because, okay, I'm fully behind anyone who wants to hate on the new trilogy, because they fucked with, you know, the Star Wars movies have been the Skywalker saga, and they're like, okay, we're just going to kill off the last of the Skywalkers, and this new character identifies as a Skywalker now. But it's like The Mandalorian, it's a separate show. It doesn't have to be a Skywalker story. It shows what it's like for all these people. Like, you know, stormtroopers are actually scary now.
Yeah.
That's a big deal. Like, now we understand why stormtroopers scared the piss out of so many people, because, sure, they can't shoot for shit a lot of the time, but, if there's enough of them, and you're just a normal dude without a lightsaber, you're a dead man, you know?
Yeah, they're gonna kill you. That's why I liked the episode. Like, if you caught up on season 2, when he was like carrying the explosive stuff, and it was like him like fighting on top of that truck, like he was like, oh shit, without like my super armor that is like plot defining, these bullets hurt. I'm getting hurt by people. This is weird. And I love seeing the idea of like the tangibility aspect of all those worlds. Don't get me wrong, I prefer seeing Jedis do Jedi shit, like cutting through everything and using the Force and throwing people across the rooms. That is really, really cool. But also the idea of like the smaller scale, like a blaster fight in the middle of the street. That's still super interesting, because it's like the people that leave after that are like, yo, god damn it, like this is like Han Solo. Like, I am not a fan of Han Solo's personality very much.
No,
but I do like Han Solo for just being a dude with a gun.
Yeah.
He's a dude with a gun, and he's out here barely making it, but he's making it. He's contending with all this crazy shit that's happening, and people fucking making other people choke by looking at them and making their hand do like a cup motion. Like, that's Han's life, and I really respect him for that.
Yeah, no, I'm down for that.
I think he's an asshole, but like, I respect him. I got a bunch of shit for revealing that on Twitter. Like, I'm not a big fan of Han Solo, and everybody's like, "What? You don't like Han Solo?" It's like, nah, I'm kind of a fan of Luke more, and the whole world thought I was just the devil. Like, my social credit plummeted.
Yeah, no, but Han Solo's written to be an asshole. Like, and that's not. I'm not taking sides one way or the other in that sense. It's just weird to say, oh, I love Han Solo, and you're like, I mean, he's a cool mechanical aspect of the story that he's just a guy with a gun who's keeping up with space wizards. But you can't deny he's an asshole. He's supposed to be
He's
an
a shit.
asshole.
He's a shithead. But like he's cool. Like I like how confident he was that Leia loved him. Like he
Mm-hmm.
was confident. He was like, she loves me. I could be rude to her. There's definitely something going on here, and I was like, I like that. I like that's funny. Something like Vegeta in Dragon Ball Z. Like I hate Vegeta. I respect him, hate him all my heart. Guy's a dickhead.
Vegeta's got that Sigma.
But at the same time, like I think they super mistreat him in the world because he gets beat up a lot. Like
He's the Worf of
he is.
he's the Worf of Dragon Ball Z.
He is. He gets beat up so bad. And I'm just like, oh Lord. Like there was an episode, my favorite episode is when he fought Android 17. No, 18. And Android 18 beat him up so badly. And I was like, there's no reason they had to do that to him. He could have just got beat up. No, he got like demoralized. And I was like, oh gosh.
I I think, and I haven't watched DBZ in a long time, but I think his humility is a big part of his. We're gonna switch playlist now. I think humility is a big part of his character arc, and he'll always be proud warrior guy. But you know, it, they set himself up a little bit. They wrote themselves into a corner a bit when they made him Trunks' father, and I still never forget that scene where he's like, "Your Bulma's son? Who's your father?" And Trunks just like silently points at Vegeta, and Goku just falls over laughing.
I was like, what the fuck? That's your dad? Yo, I'm sorry, bro.
He's just like, wait. Her and him? And you know, they had to be like, okay, so now how do we get ourselves to this place?
I love it. I love how everyone is like, what? That's your dad? Bro, my bad. I'm sorry, dude. You're gonna have a tough life. He sucks. Everyone's like, well, he's like, what? Is he really? He's like, yeah, your dad's an asshole. Your dad tried to kill Gohan. Your dad beat up Gohan. He beat him up. Gohan's 7. He beat him up. I love it. I love all of the ridiculous of Dragon Ball Z. But back to D&D, so you started in 3.5, right? When you started playing, right?
That's when I really started playing as a role player, as a D&D player. So
did you ever play any 2E?
3? No. Because I started with Neverwinter Nights. That was I saw the ad for Neverwinter Nights after playing Baldur's Gate. I was like, oh, that looks so good. I gotta try that, you know. It's 3D, the camera's spinning around them. And I was playing it in a high school class because I had my laptop there, and like, you know, I finished my work. We had this substitute teacher who was just in hindsight, he was a good teacher. He was just also a terrible teacher in terms of, well, we'll get to that in a minute. Because he's like, what do you... Oh, Neverwinter Nights. Oh, look, I play that online. There's like this persistence. The server's running 24/7, but it's not like a video game. It's actually like playing old school D&D. You make your character, you form relationships, you get allies. There's plot lines that DMs are running. I'm like, you got to tell me more. So he put in the link to the forum where people would like... There's a sub forum for just shooting the shit with other players. There's an in-character forum for like in-character posts, people keeping journals, writing letters to each other, and then, you know, there's the login details. I ended up through me, we ended up getting like about a quarter of our computing uh, software design development class playing on Mystara, which is a
That's cool.
really old school setting. They'd have like gatherings every 6 to 12 months where someone flew in from Europe somewhere for one of them. And someone would host it, everyone would just show up, and we'd just be getting drunk and talking about, remember that time when? Um, and
That's so
so,
cool.
yeah, I would love I'd love to just raid a server somewhere. Like, just get a bunch of us together. We all download Neverwinter Nights Enhanced Edition, make our characters, and just show up as like a whole group of like a team of mercenaries who show up. And we're like, "What's up? We're here looking for work." And all these players
Yeah,
like, "Whoa, where'd these guys come from?"
I love that, like, that aspect of Dungeons and Dragons. That's always been like what makes me truly never be able to get rid of the game. Like, it's just so much. There's just so much to do. There's like, as much as you can think of, there you can do.
Yeah,
There's never a cap to like, oh, this can't be done. It's like, it can't be done at the moment, but if you guys put your mind to it and figure out and get the right kind of magic and like really, really tell me or explain to me how this process is going to happen, you could do it. And that's what I've always been so enthralled and charmed by the game by. It's always been adventures like that that have always really kept me excited and happy.
yeah. Like, imagine it's 2 in the morning, you can't sleep. Like, I'm gonna log on to Misty and see what the Europeans are up to tonight.
There you go. And that's it. That's all you have to do. Have you played the new Baldur's Gate 3 yet?
No, I want to, but it's somewhere between I'm poor and I'm trying to save what money I can for, just future endeavors.
I feel you. That's the reason why I bought a PC for that game. I
Ooh.
spent like $3,000 on a computer for that game,
Oh, Tom,
and
damn.
don't even regret it. I don't even regret it. It's like it was one of my most happy purchases of my life.
I'm holding out until we can convince Lauren or convince Meta PCs to get a
Yeah,
All Watchmen are Bastards code.
that's great.
Make Law and Order a partner. It's like, forget Tongue, and I'll rep Rip McAfee for Donovan right up till the point when All Watchmen are Bastards becomes a seller's code. Then I'll be repping that.
I'm down. I respect it.
Okay, so I figure we'll just have like a small guest room wing, but we honestly don't need much in there. This is just like, this dude's too drunk to walk home, too important to throw out, drag him upstairs, throw him in a guest bed. So it doesn't need to be too fancy,
Yeah, it doesn't have to be a complex room.
I don't want it to be like, an obvious stuck out sore point. Like, I don't want people to go, okay, clearly did that bit last, ran out of momentum. I think we'll just throw some rugs down or something. And, we'll just go ahead and borrow. I don't like that one. We'll go ahead and borrow this. And then we go to turn that down to 80, and we'll just boost the fuck out of that. Now, technically, there is a red carpet, but, in spite of saying I don't want people to think I got to this stage and then just got lazy, I'm going to be lazy, and we're just going to change the hue. Wait, there's red.
Really cool.
Yeah, these filters, I hadn't been using nearly enough of them. And now, because it's on the floor, we've got to make sure there's no shadow. Okay, good. Alright, I'm pretty happy with that.
That looks great.
Alright, so that's a Roaring Horn villa.
That is not all. It's so much detail there, dude.
Well, this is, what, we're halfway through this. This is the 4th session, so this is 7 hours work.
That's a good job.
We're lucky in, and I'll have to prepare some more of these overlays to work from, the stuff from the original box set. But there's also, like, this is a generic warehouse, and it makes sense, because, like, even today, you know, you go into a new development, and, okay, there's, like, minor cosmetic differences to all the different houses, but they all look the same. You know, they have, like, someone was given 4 floor plans to choose from. I even had a guy, one of my friends that I met through Misty. He lives about 2.5 hours south of me. He just bought a house in one of those new developments, and it was basically like going through a multiple choice. It's like, you can have one of these 4 floor plans. You can have one of these 3 doors. How many plants do you want between 0 and 4? And they must be one of these 3 brand types of trees, species of trees. It's because you're buying into that place because it's a nice place, and it's a nice place. Like, it has that uniformity. It looks pretty. You can't have that one house down the street that we don't talk about because, you know, it's a shithole. You're not allowed to make a shithole. So I think for now we'll just shrink that as well. We'll make sure that's on level 5, so it's up with it's up near the other place, up near original. And we can just drop that opacity down to 0. Before we get into anything else, a couple of quick announcements that I probably should have opened with, but we have had so much support from everybody over the last month. This is our 7th stream, because, you know, unforeseen circumstances, we couldn't stream episode 4 earlier this week. So this is our 7th stream. We averaging about 20 viewers per stream concurrently. That's because, you know, this is a smaller one. The actual show is a bigger one, sort of evens out in the middle. And, you know, we have smashed out our affiliate our affiliate goals. This stream will be the stream that ticks the last box. Hey, heard that ding? Perfect timing, really. We'll should theoretically receive an email in the next 6 hours from Twitch, and then we'll be we might even have a shiny new badge for episode 4 when we close out our prologue chapter. And I'm blown away. Like, I'm so gobsmacked. It's amazing. There are videos out there for new streamers, like how to get 3 concurrent viewers consistently. And, you know, honestly, I feel like I owe it a lot to, you know, the Sween here, to Jenna, to Donovan. Like, don't get me wrong, all of us together kept people here. These guys just went, hey, I'm gonna get everyone hyped. And, you know, between all of us, we found all of our D&D lovers, and we brought them here, and it's just going to keep getting bigger and better.
Yeah, dude. I see this not stopping to the moon.
Forget Dogecoin.
Yeah.
Forget Dogecoin. It's Law and Order to the moon.
Law and Order to the moon.
And speaking of, we will probably be starting another stream. This one will be on Thursday nights, Freedom Land time, so Friday morning Pacific time. It won't be a D&D stream per se. This is going to be, if you just want to hang out with us, have a bit of a laugh. We're going to be playing some Amogus. We might also play some Jackbox. I'm going to see if I can get these guys, see how many of these guys have Minecraft or Valheim. Valheim is so good.
Valheim is fun.
And it's going to be complete chaos. So, you know, you can tune in on your Tuesday nights for Law and Order, and you can tune in on your Thursday nights for Law and Disorder. We gonna have a blast. We're not going to try and compete directly with Critical Role. We're going to be looking at starting about an hour before Critical Role does. So if you want to show up, catch some of the chaos, then go see the big guys, all good. Matt, Liam, Travis, Laura, all the others, we'll get everyone warmed up for you. It's fine.
Thank you. Well, we appreciate that. Send some follows and sponsorships our way, like Wovenford or anything.
Yep.
Just money to help. That would be good.
Incarnate has been retweeting some of the tweets I've made about this stream, so I'm down for that. I can't wait to post a screenshot of this finished map, tag Incarnate in it, be like, this is it, guys. This is what Incarnate does. So let's hear a little bit about Gabe. I want to know about
Gabe,
this dude.
the Enigma.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
only what you're comfortable sharing. You know, we still want to hold back some plot twists, maybe.
I'm gonna hold back some major points, but my character Gabe Request, mainly if you guys don't know, he is a Baldur's Gate native. He is actually a member of a not so reputable family located in Baldur's Gate. Rather infamous group of people. And he is one of the children of that relatively large half-elven family. And he is, you know, anything specific you'd like to know. Let's get it as specific as possible, because I don't want to give a very broad description. I want point by point by point.
Okay. Well, I think we'll give the stream a little bit to see if anything comes to mind there. I'm curious to know, like, how did Gabe just sort of pop into your head? Like, did you start from a character you know? Did you start from an archetype?
I started from the idea of that. I looked at the people I was playing with, and I was like, Donovan, Egan, and Jess are here. We got 3 and Do. We got 4
Dogen. Yeah.
We got 4 prime troublemakers inside of here. So I want to have a character that can represent somewhat of me. Obviously, that's all of us. Every character we make, a piece of them is a piece of us, you know.
Yeah.
Put a piece of us in the character.
There's something you are or there's something you're not.
And I thought of, okay, this character seems fun. He seems like he's crazy enough to deal with the group, but he also has enough of a head on his shoulders and sort of own heart to be able to deal well with the group he's going to be in.
Mm-hmm. So you kind of built him for the party a little bit. No, that's good. I think a lot of parties need a character or two like that. Unless the whole group is sitting together to plan out, okay, well, if you're going to do this, I could try that. And someone goes, well, if you two, maybe I could balance it out in this other way. And then, you know, people start pairing off or going off in 2s and 3s to tie their backstories together, like Keegan and Donovan did. Because as a DM and even as a player in other people's parties, and I've seen other people come to the table with this, one of the most infuriating things is people who just don't write their character to accommodate the campaign in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, the character is inherently just like, you don't belong in the setting, even. Like, you're even out of the setting.
Yes, dude. Yes! Like, my character wouldn't be interested in that. Okay. And fuck him off and write a character who would be interested in that.
I very much so get the idea of the character, like, my character wouldn't do this. My character would do this. Like, you gotta understand it's the scenario we're in, bud. Is I've DM'd quite a few times,
Mm-hmm.
and when it comes to my friends, it's like my character has no motivation to be, involved in this, and it's like, well, then why would your character even join an adventuring group to go do this?
Yep. It-
Like this that's the name of the game right now. We're all together doing something. So if you don't want to do that, what's the point of your character even existing in this space?
Thank you. It's like, okay, Descent into Avernus. If you know anything about it, I mean, obviously, you're going to hell.
Yeah.
You start off getting recruited by the Flaming Fist. If your character is like my character would join the Flaming Fist, well, then your character's not here. Your character never joined. Your character's not sitting in the recruitment office. Thank you for playing.
Yeah.
Or
I
he's like,
like
okay, no, my character's a mercenary. He's absolutely okay. Then you're like, oh, we're going to hell. My character wouldn't want to go to hell. Okay, well, at this point, your character leaves. You're welcome to
yeah,
write a character who would go to hell.
that's as simple as it is. Like I've played Film of Annihilation.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a part where obviously you're going to Chult, this place that you don't know, and you need a guide. Like if I want to, somebody's like, my character wouldn't pay one of the guides. It's like, well, how the fuck is your character gonna get around in Chult? They don't know this place.
Yep.
Obviously, it's gonna be like, oh, I need a guide of someone who understands the layout of this area.
Mm-hmm.
And it's stuff like that like, but that's just the loner because there's D&D players, and then there's video gamers. They're two
Yes!
very different people. They're very different people. There's a lot of people that have gotten into the edition, particularly, they get into it with the video gamer mentality.
Mm-hmm.
Of like, my character can't die, everything I want to do works, and blah blah blah. But that's not how it works.
These people don't want to play D&D.
Yeah, they want to play a video game.
They want to play a video game at a D&D table.
So it's like, what you do is you're gonna go. You have to. I was like, first and foremost, you have to figure out what you want to do, what kind of character you want. Like, you can't just like for instance, sometimes when you play with people that are like, oh, I roll a 20 on my persuasion check, I want this person to give me their business. It's like, why would this halfling that spent 70 years building up this fucking this fantastic inn franchise just be like, you know what, this tiefling's really good at talking, here's the deeds to everything I've worked for? It's like, that's not how that works.
Yes.
How...
I had that happen to me in Misty back in the day. Neverwinter Nights. My character Sangrail, his parents ran a tavern that was burnt down. His parents were murdered by like this shadowy demon. One of the most cliche backstories, but he was like my first serious character that I wrote a backstory for. So, at least he wasn't a drow ranger with two swords. So, parents murdered. It's a trope for a reason. It's staple. It works. And he formed a guild with a bunch of adventuring buddies. It was called the Twin Arrows. The Twin Arrows had this whole story as to how the name came about. And we saved our asses off. We did good deeds around town to the point where we convinced the DMs to build us a tavern called the House of Avalon, which was named after the tavern he grew up in. Great, like they said, go to the editor, build the tavern, send us the files, and they incorporated the tavern into the module. You could go and sit in the tavern that my friend and I designed, based off like, okay, so this is the House of Avalon. How would the original House of Avalon have looked? How would we change it according to, we have a guild. We had a guild house upstairs. We had a meeting room up on the third floor with like a ring of chairs that had our names on them. It was amazing.
That's so dope.
And then this idiot has this character with like absurdly high persuasion, and she's like, I thought maybe we could be partners in the House of Avalon. Like you could give me like half ownership. Rolls persuasion. I'm like, hold time. I mean, I must have to set the DC at about 75 you know?
Exactly.
Because like back in third 3.5 ed for the D&D 5 babies, like anyway, you could continue putting points into skills. It's not just like you had proficiency or expertise and that's it. Maybe you could get a double something with a special feat. It's like, no, you keep putting, I think I managed to get a perform score of about 60 as Sangrail from a combination of skills and loot.
Jeez.
Sangrail had an alter ego named Jimmy, who was based off a character from his backstory, and he used to go drink in the tavern in the enemy town next to where the enemy's base was. It was as close as he could get without the NPCs auto-firing on him. And he became drinking buddies with one of the highest ranking members of the enemy faction. He walked in, saw me sitting there with the name Sangrail's Avalon over my head, but then he sees me like wearing this whole different outfit, and I turn and I'm wearing a helmet that's customized to look like another person's head. And he's like, what's going on? Like he sends me a private message going, are you like undercover or something? And I turn and I talk to him in like a completely different voice, using like changing the way I type words. And then I go, hey, you want to do like a performance versus spot check? And he's like, dude, that's amazing. Let's do it. And so yeah, that's they became drinking buddies after that.
That's super dope.
But yeah, you can't just be like, oh, I persuade this person to give me half of the business that they formed a guild, did a whole bunch of campaigning, and raised like 70,000 gold pieces to build, but I have a high persuasion. No, it doesn't work that way.
You can't persuade that. Like, that's not persuading someone. That'd be like, if I'm gonna kill you, like that's like something crazy. It's like oh, I use my persuasion check to make the god Bahama come down and help me in this fight. It's like how
pull that shit in the king's throne room, motherfucker. Walk in and be like, "What's up, your highness? I was thinking you could make me your heir. Persuasion roll 62.
And it's like,
no. Well, what? You know what? I like you. I won't have you beheaded. That's what your persuasion roll gets you.
That's it. Like, I might give you something. Like, you're good at talking. You may get a position somewhere in my court, but I'm not going to give you my namesake. I'm not going to hand that over to you.
Mind you, a lot of the kings, yeah, there were a lot of deaths in the royal family after that, but yeah, it's not going to happen. So, well, a lot of people don't realize that
Let's be a god roll persuasion. That's hilarious.
20s and 1s only count in combat and death saves.
Yes.
Now, I still like, for flavor, I still like to give 20s and 1s that little bit extra in skill rolls. But it's like, if you roll a 20, and the DC's, like, if you roll a nat 20, and you've only got a 2 in that, you get 22. If the DC is 25, you still fail.
Mm-hmm.
You might fail gracefully, and the person you're trying to convince might be like, I'm sorry, I can't allow that, but I like you. Let me try and offer this other thing instead. It's like in improv, they talk about yes and, or no but, or yes but. So it's like, they'll be like, no, but what if we did this other thing that's going to require more work from you, but still be easier than what you wanted to do? Or you get a 1, it's still going to be funny. Like, I still like 1s and 20s to mean something, but you can't be like, I rolled to seduce the dragon, nat 20. Okay, the dragon polymorphs into you and bends over, telling you to go fuck yourself.
And you're like, well, I came here to fuck a dragon, and fucking dragon's what I'll do. You do what you gotta do. That's it. You came here like, I'm fucking a dragon. That's why I'm here. And you go and you slam bang your ass that looks like a dragon.
Clap them scales, dude. Clap them scales. There aren't a lot of dragons in Waterdeep. There's a reason for that.
Yeah, I don't think there's any dragons in Waterdeep, right? There's none. There's no proper dragons like in draconic form. Waterdeep. I know there's legend. If I'm not mistaken, the steel dragon in lore was in Waterdeep.
Yep, there's two dragons that there've been rumors about, like rumors that make you go, rumors like, uh, blah. You know, it's the difference between uh, COVID vaccines might have side effects and COVID vaccines give you 5G microchips. You know,
Yeah.
it's like one of them is like, not sure where I stand on this, but that's kind of, you know, that's believable, and the other one is like, yeah, no, fuck that. There are two dragons, according to legend, that are like, I know a guy who knows a guy who heard the story that, and I could believe it. I could believe it. But for whatever reason, dragons just, yeah.
Xanathar is lives right off in there, and Xanathar is bad news.
Yeah, we're gonna explore a bit more of Xanathar.
I fucking knew it. I knew it. And whenever I hear Waterdeep, I'm like, there's definitely gonna be Laurel Silverhand might show up, and definitely Xanathar. Those are the two like characters that you always expect to see in Waterdeep. Because like, if any, because one, Xanathar has the biggest crime syndicate in Waterdeep, right? Like that's his. That's
the
his
Xanathar.
thing.
The Xanathar.
And then I know that Laurel, whenever things get bad, the person that steps in is like, all right, guys, stop. Is her.
We've already had the Blackstaff make an appearance.
The Blackstaff is also coming up.
Yeah.
Is the Blackstaff one of Mistress Chosen or no? Right? No, they're not. It is just random people.
No, Mistress Chosen. A prior Blackstaff was one of Mistress Chosen. Anyone with any proficiency in Waterdeep history knows that. Kelvin Blackstaff was the original Blackstaff. He created the Blackstaff, the item. There's also this bad boy right here from 3rd edition. He doesn't make an appearance, but one of his offspring might. Part of it is like working out who would still be alive 100 years later, who wouldn't be alive, but might have some sort of scion show up.
So this is definitely post Sundering, right?
Sorry?
Post Sundering.
Yeah.
So is this during? This is during.
This is post Second Sundering.
Post Second Sundering. Okay, so this is 5. We're playing in 5e time.
Yes, we're playing 4. No, I think we're playing 6 years ahead of 5e time. I've advanced the storyline for the start of the 16th century.
Force Grey exists already, so that's how you know we're ahead of 5e time.
Yeah.
Force Grey is already a proper team, like they're like a military group already.
Force Grey had been around for a little bit. So the Sentient of Avernus and Dragon Heist take place in 1493 or 1494, I think. And I was going to have it immediately afterwards, but I thought we're this close to the 16th century. Let's just kick off a new style of D&D with a new century. You know, we can have some cultural revolutions. Like, I want a little bit of a touch, like leaning towards steampunk. Bring in some cultural anachronism, so there's a little bit of. Sorry?
Eberron? Not quite Eberron yet.
No, not quite Eberron yet. But you could see Eberron occurring in another 50 years. Like, think pre-industrial, just pre-industrial revolution when the inventions are starting to appear. But also, like, culturally, like, if you go into a fest hall, I want, like, a little bit of the 20s and 30s style prohibition music. Like, think if Scott Bradley wrote for fantasy. You know Scott Bradley's Postmodern Jukebox?
Yes.
Yeah. I would want Scott Bradley to release an album for Law and Order, using like bardcore style takes on songs.
That's really cool. I like it. I've never played the Middle Ground because because Eberron is supposed to be the air quotes middle ground, but it's definitely after. It's like post World War One.
Mm-hmm.
That is what Eberron's always been to me. It's always post World War One, and that's the idea. Like, oh, we just got like airships and like planes are starting to become like a very real thing, and what magic's become widespread but lower scale. Like that is what that world means to me. And I like the idea that this is where the inventions that are going to take magic into the step of air quote science is about to happen. Like we're like right on the fringe of that creation going off.
Well, I also this is a perfect setting to explore that stuff in, with you guys becoming like this special task force, like a Waterdeepian FBI, basically. Because you look at some of the police procedurals where, or even The Mentalist, for example, you know, the entrepreneur is as one of his offsiders has been murdered, and maybe it's like some corporate warfare, industrial espionage, stuff like that. Because there's a lot of power and money to be made in, you know, new inventions, ways of bringing certain kinds of magic to the populace cheap. Like you look at the artificer class from Eberron. I've got a character who's sort of set from Waterdeep, and the campaign I was playing him in sort of fizzled out a little bit, but his story arc, and he'll probably make an appearance as an NPC in Law and Order, because his story arc is about I want to revolutionize the way we enchant objects, and I want to, you know, the artificer has like magical tinkering. You pick up a small item and you can make it emit light, or you can make it emit sound, or you can make it emit a small amount of warmth. Now imagine if you could mass produce those through like a more efficient form of enchanting. That's lighting and heating for poor people. And you know,
that's changing like citywide infrastructure.
Exactly.
Like, the person that does that is like going to be the person that's going to make like a ton of money, but that leads to like weaponry. Like obviously, unfortunately, I'm a freedom boy, and that's where our brains go. Weapons. We can make great weapons.
Well, also, this, you know? I mean, the artificer, the armorer, is D&D Iron Man. I mean, this character is an armorer, so he has inadvertently turned into Iron Man. Just a slightly playboy, posh British sort of a chap. But like, imagine what the Lamplighters Guild.
Yeah.
Because the guilds ostensibly hold as much, if not more, power than the Lords of Waterdeep do. The Lords of Waterdeep and the nobles and the guilds are sort of this equilibrium triangle of power, so that no one party can ever get too much without the other two going, oh, no, time, fuck you. And this upstart is just going to completely undermine one of the guilds. You get blacklisted by one of the guilds, you could get blacklisted by all of the guilds, because they're going to be like, well, if you could do that to them, what happens when you do that to us? You can't work with us anymore.
People are going to start showing up and like make it so you're not doing that anymore, because that's the world of like the D&D, like all of that's like the D&D worlds. Like it's so crazy to think of, like, because you know you make some bigger enemies where you're like, oh, I've angered Zariel, you know, and Zariel is gonna send a demon to come and get me. But like when you anger like a person that's a part of a house or a guild, they have so much money and power that ostensibly, legally, they will send people to your home to kill you. Like, they'll just do that. And it'll be this person that is like a legend, like a champion, like a freaking like 5e the champion, like stat block is trying to kill you. And yeah, I'm like, my character is essentially like a level 3 character. I can't kill this man. He's going to murder me.
What happens when, like you said, Zariel sends a devil after you, one of her devil lieutenants, and you fight them, you kill them, you kill enough of them, eventually Zariel's like, you know what, you're not worth the trouble. You piss off a guild. What happens when no one wants to sell you bread anymore?
Literally.
No one's going to come around and repair your furniture. Suddenly, all the dung in your street isn't getting swept up anymore because there is a dung sweepers guild. You might even meet a couple of them. Suddenly, it's like you can't just go to the league of the honored league of most careful and skilled artisans and be like, all right, who do I need to kill here before you guys start repairing my shit or selling me furniture? That's not how it works. Suddenly, you're the bad guy. The power that guilds and nobles and the lords of Waterdeep, there's like a dozen of them, but 11 of them are completely anonymous.
Yeah.
What if that merchant you just threatened is a lord of Waterdeep?
Living a low profile life, and you just threatened him because he wouldn't give you this deal that you wanted, and now you're gonna notice that when you go to like shops to try to buy something, and it's like, oh, this short sword for you, 50 gold pieces, and you're like, excuse me.
Mm-hmm. That's
like, why does every shop hand hate me? And it's like, you remember that guy you threatened when he was walking home and he had a fire tongue, and you tried to rob him for it? He was one of the lords of Waterdeep, being like, wow, this sucks.
Yep.
This sucks.
This is, I mean, I know they talk about, oh, hang on, I just realized this bearskin rug is underneath the, there we go. It was underneath the grid, and I didn't like that. That was ugly. I'll go save that again. Yeah, D&D is always hyped as this big actions and consequences thing. But until you get into a city where everything is political and everyone has connections, the guilds have their hands in every strata of life.
Yeah, it's like it's a completely different world.
Yeah.
You went from one world that you thought made sense to the world we live in that doesn't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you pretty much moved into a small town, and you're the guy that like crashed into Jim Bob's car, and now everyone in the town is like, you suck.
Yeah, yeah. And I know, like, some of us in the campaign, like, go to our Twitters, and we're always making fun of the people who are like, everything is political. Everything sort of is political in Waterdeep, though. But it's not like a, critical theory. It's like, no, this dude has power, and you just made him angry. Yeah, everyone wants power, and everything, it's human nature. And okay, there's more than just humans in D&D, but they're all like variant. They're all just humans wearing different skins, really.
It's humane nature.
Yeah, it's sentient nature. Let's go with that. To be sentient, to be self-aware is to be self-interested. And so, everybody wants something. Everybody's acting in a way to try and get that something for themselves.
That's why the guilds became as strong as they were, man. They strong-armed, and they completely controlled this aspect.
Yeah.
And once you control a whole aspect of a city, you have the means to be able to wager and dictate how much that aspect is worth. And that's what all the lords did.
You get back a couple of centuries.
Other people did.
Yeah.
And it becomes crazy. And then, like, what happens is, because ultimately, like, let's say, like, who's an unbelievably strong being within the world of D&D, like Mordenkainen. Mordenkainen is horrifying.
Mm-hmm.
But he wouldn't just walk into Waterdeep and expect things to be exactly how he wanted to. Even he wouldn't do that, because Laurel's there, and Laurel will put him in check and be like, hey, that's not how we do this.
Yeah.
There's a rule here. Like the evil upon evil would come in, and they would try to destroy things because their brains are too fucked to understand, like, hey, you're kind of tripping out. But like anyone that understands laws, that's why fucking Vecna never just attacks Waterdeep or Baldur's Gate or something like that, Yeah. That's why even in Defense of Avernus, freaking Azario was undercoverly. She took Eterel. She didn't take Baldur's Gate because she knew how much shit that would get her.
Well, and I think she was trying to take Baldur's Gate, but here's the thing: she spent about 50 years working on that. She didn't just rock up and start throwing a weight around. That shit takes planning. And it's not like she tried to move into Waterdeep and be like, all right, you all belong to me now. Great, no one's going to build your house. No one's going to build your castle. No one's going to bring food to you. You'll have to kill
When you're
everyone,
gonna
and
die,
then you'll
when
just
you're
be a
gonna die,
queen of fucking
you're gonna die.
ash. The power of the
Exactly.
people.
It's smart, man. It's a lot that goes into it. It's a lot more. There's a lot more going on in the world than we think it is. Like when a Charise shows up and it starts just breaking shit, you know, you gotta hope. You hope you don't get stepped on or building doesn't land on you. But when it's like things that are sentient, everyone plays the game.
Yeah.
You know, and certain people have more weight in the game, but everyone has to play that game at the end of the day. Because a person with only enemies is gonna lose first.
Mm-hmm.
That's just how it works.
Actually, I'm
It's
thinking I
always-
might even include that in the broadsheets. So you remember how I put out some broadsheets newsletters in the lead up. Well, the biggest broadsheets actually come out like every second day. So there's 5 broadsheets every 10 day, which is a week. Um, Now that we're in real time, like one night's taken nearly a month to play through. So I could do a broadsheet every 2 days. And we can tell little stories in there as well, like a guy who's just going to show up, start throwing his weight around, and by the end of the second 10 day, he's left with his tail between his legs because none of the guilds want to deal with him, none of the nobles will talk to him, and the lords are completely ignoring him. And
Yeah,
just like
so
show off some of the backstories.
you're just been ostracized. You've been ostracized by the entire city that you came to potentially control, but you can't because there's a way. There's a system. There's already a flow of the lake, and it's not going to flow the opposite way because you get there. I love it. Excellent storytelling.
Yeah. Looking forward to, like, it's going to be interesting to have this grand sweeping narrative that takes place within the same 5.5 square miles over the course
really,
of
really
years.
cool.
It's not like you're traveling from Baldur's Gate down to Candlekeep up to Waterdeep, all the way up to Neverwinter, maybe even that campaign where I'm playing Sangreal in 5th Ed. I'll get back to it when this lockdown ever ends. We were down in Daggerford, which has been renamed to Daggerfell in this campaign because of stuff that happened before I joined. And now we're traveling north. We hit Waterdeep. We're going up to Icewind Dale and even further north. There's just all this grand travel and scenery, and I was like, okay, but Waterdeep, like any of the 3 big cities, like to me, Waterdeep is probably Los Angeles, Baldur's Gate would be Chicago, and Neverwinter's probably New York or Boston.
I would give Baldur's Gate probably New York,
Yeah.
and then I would give Chicago to Waterdeep.
Yeah.
First.
Okay.
I feel like Baldur's Gate has because I think because of all of the crime syndicate families in Baldur's Gate, it gives me a very New York feel.
All right. Yeah, I can feel that.
That's why I think like old New York, also being from New York. That's why it feels
Fair.
very like Baldur's Gatey to me. And I would say LA. I don't know which one would be LA.
Well, to me,
Because-
Waterdeep is LA because it's the big, shiny, progressive metropolis. Like they went full on progressive with Waterdeep in some of the latest stuff. Volo even did in one of the Volo's comments. It was like they have whole new takes on sex and gender, and most of the old school players is like rolling their eyes. Okay, whatever. Like that shit's always been around. But okay. But it's like, yeah, it's the place. Like if any new ideas are going to happen, it's going to happen in Waterdeep first.
I agree with that.
So to me, it's like the most progressive, liberal city on the Sword Coast, and that's why it's so exciting, because it's like LA, like California in general. It's got this great big glossy veneer. You got Hollywood, you've got the Boulevard, you've got Universal Studios, and then underneath that, it's almost like Gotham. Although I thought of Gotham as Chicago, but it's got like. There's the crime syndicates. There's literally the Underdark under the city. There's all the homeless. There's all the dodgy dealings. The overlaps between the criminals and the guilds and the nobles.
That's a very good way to think about it. Because I think of I very much so feel that because living in LA also, I'm currently a LA resident, and that's very true. Like it's the idea of when you come here, you're like, oh, it's gonna be like super cool and like shining awesome. You get here and you go to proper LA, like Hollywood. Hollywood is disgusting. Hollywood is filthy.
Yeah.
It's so gross.
I
And you're
walked
like,
down the boulevard and I had a migraine within 10 minutes from the smell and the weed.
have you been to America before?
Yeah. A couple of years ago for a friend's wedding, his wife, then fiance, flew myself and another guy over to surprise him because we all worked on a forum together.
Oh, that's crazy. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
gross. LA is gross, disgusting.
yeah,
The air hurts. It smells disgusting. Marijuana like everywhere. Like I'm not anti-marijuana, but like, is this? It's not what the brochures show you. It's not. You're like,
yeah.
oh, wow. And it's similar with New York. Even New York, you see all the bright, shiny buildings, and like, oh wow. But then it turns to nighttime, and you get mugged. And you're like, I did not see that coming. Like Central Park is the biggest lore of New York, I would say, other than Times Square. It's Central Park, like all this beautiful park that's like hundreds of blocks, but it's like never go to Central Park at nighttime.
Mm-hmm.
Like that is an absolute, like that is a rule. Never go there at nighttime. That is where villains are.
Yep.
Villainous people are there. Doctor Doom is in Central Park at nighttime. Don't go there.
If there are such a thing as vampires and werewolves and they live in New York, they're in Central Park.
Absolutely.
We have a
They're
park just
definitely
north
there.
of Central Station in Sydney, and during the day you'll see people sitting out there on blankets having picnics. Come 4 p.m., like as soon as the sun drops beneath the buildings, within an hour they're all gone, and you do not go into that park after dark.
That's a rule. It's
Yep.
just safe. It's just safer not to do that.
Same down on Broadway, which is our Broadway, just south of Central in Sydney. Same thing. Beautiful park. There's people exercising in it, students having study sessions, people sunbaking. As soon as it gets dark, empty.
Not a soul. Exactly, because it's
Because you don't want to
that's
meet
where it
people in there after dark.
exactly.
Chapter 2, I'll tell you this, Chapter 2 is going to be all about exploring what happens to people after dark. What it's like
So
when you don't have that shiny veneer, when you're not living on that cloud, where everything's shiny and golden in the sunlight. No, you're going to be seeing what life is like underneath, where the sun doesn't shine.
so excited for that. That's gonna be fucking dope. I
Yeah.
love the idea of like just the underbelly of
Yeah.
the world. It was really really cool to me.
We have a TV show in Australia called Underbelly, and it's all about like the crime syndicates of Australia. They have different different seasons of Underbelly. Like there's Underbelly Tale of Two Cities, Underbelly The Golden Mile, I think it's called, and it's all like the crime syndicates out in Darlinghurst, which is East Sydney, the crime syndicates down in Melbourne, stuff like that. So going to be a lot of Underbelly Waterdeep.
That's cool. I've never been to Australia. I really really plan on going. I want to go really really bad.
Yeah, I want to get all you guys down here, and then, at some point we'll just decide where in the world do we want to set up our studio. We'll get a studio,
That'd be great.
move everyone into like a nearby place, and just all be like, yeah, it's gonna be great. That's my dream anyway.
To the States, guys. It's crazy, but everything's here.
Yeah.
That's the benefit of America. It is insane.
Everyone's telling
But-
me Florida is the place to go. If an Aussie wants to go, everyone's telling me
No.
Florida.
Florida is insanity. It's cool. I mean, it might remind you of Australia because Australia is also insane.
I want to
like,
meet Florida man.
for yeah.
I'll be
Like I have several friends who are Aboriginal of Aboriginal descent,
Mhm.
and my friend who lives in America was like, I went to Australia once, and like he was like, one time we went like maybe like 2015, and he was sleeping, and he felt something on him, and he was like, oh, it's probably the puppy on me. So he was moving, and he felt like more than one like finger, and he pushed it off, and it made like a thump, like a loud enough thump, and he turned his lights on, and he said it was a spider the size of his hand, and he screamed so loud he just went out his window.
Probably a wolf spider or something like that.
Yeah, I think it was a wolf spider, and it's like those comedies, like they're everywhere.
Okay,
like,
look, Australia is not actually that different to America in terms of wildlife. It's just because the wildlife rarely shows up in most places. Like, I live in a small apartment near the shops. There's a train line. You can hear the trains going past almost 24/7. But then 5-10 minutes drive from here, because I'm right on the edge of Sydney. I'm not doxing myself. I've posted which hospital I've been in many times. Someone come and visit me. About 10 minutes drive from here is the farm I grew up on, which is where suburbia stops and the bush begins. Whole different world, like wallabies, spiders, snakes. And it's like, once you get out past a certain point of society, that's where you start seeing mountain lions and bobcats or bears or whatever. It's just once you get to that point when you get to that point in America, you're like, okay, this is wild. When you get to that point in Australia, you're like, holy fuck, everything wants to kill me. Our kangaroos are fucking mammalian velociraptors, right? They'll go back on their tail, kick you with their rear feet. They got claws on one of their toes on each leg, like this big.
That hook.
Yeah, no, the cassowary. The cassowary is this giant emu-looking motherfucker, but has like this big hook that it'll just open your guts up with. It's amazing, man. I love it.
It's so wild to me. I heard about Australia when I'd watch Crocodile Hunter because I'm an American, and that's like our exposure to Australia as youth. We're like, oh, Australia looks so cool, like Kangaroo Jack is awesome. And then like I remember when I was like 20, I saw a cassowary, and I was like, that's a dinosaur. Like, that's not. Oh, there's also those like really big billed birds. They look really scary. They have like dark, like slitted eyes, and they're really tall and have this huge bill. And they're in Australia. I forgot what they're called, but I saw that bird and I was like, that is something that should be in a lost planet. Like, that is not a real animal.
Okay,
that
look,
can't be real.
Like, I've never made a secret of my faith. I'm a Christian, right? I'm pretty sure the platypus alone is existence that God has a sense of humor. Right? It's like it's like, get me a duck, get me a beaver, and then put a poison spur on the back leg. Okay? We're putting it in Australia. It's still got to be able to kill people. They're this big. They're like these cute little duck, platypus, beaver things, and they will still kill you.
There's also it's such a wild. It's like Australia reminds me of Athos, like in Dark Sun. It reminds me of like that, but a place. Like everything's gone buck. There's nothing. You can't assume anything is safe. The only thing you can assume is safe is like your dog, like your animal that's yours. This animal won't try to kill me, but it probably can't protect me well against animals that are gonna try to kill me. Like I've seen videos of kangaroos kicking dogs like yards. And I'm like, bro, that poor dog.
Yeah. There's this video that went viral of a zookeeper. People tried to get him fired, and most of Australia was just like, no way, man. This guy was a legend. This kangaroo has got his dog in a headlock. This guy runs up, shoves the kangaroo off his dog. This kangaroo starts fronting up to him. This guy's just like, all right, puts his hands up, gives the kangaroo a hook across the jaw. Kangaroo like, all right, no, all right, whatever you're on, I want no part of it. Turns around, hops away. This guy grabs his dog, gets back on the truck. This guy was actually a zookeeper. He deals with kangaroos, and he was like, I didn't want to hurt it. I just didn't want to lose my dog, man.
It would have killed my dog.
Kangaroo had a fucking dog in a headlock.
I've seen them put people in headlocks, and they have really muscular torsos. Like their middle of their body is full of muscle.
You see,
like, why?
See this giant red or gray, and they'll be like, they'll flex at you. They'll flex at you, man.
It's insane. I love it. I have to go there at least once.
Man, there. Look, by the time you get here, my couch should be replaced because this couch is dying. But my couch is ready. All right.
I appreciate it. I super appreciate that, bro.
Look, you may want a hotel once or twice. Stay in the city a couple of nights, enjoy yourself, but couch, man. Couch. Destiny, Xbox. I've got... Oh, yeah, it's going to be great. Yeah, alright. Well, we're probably going to call it here, I think.
If you want to call it now, I'm alright.
Yeah, my body is good for about 2 hours at a time.
I gotcha, bud.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for coming hanging out. Everyone, to
I love
Sweeny,
being here. I cannot wait till I'm here next time.
wholesome dude to ever have joined the shitposter circle of Twitter.
I try to shitpost a little bit, but it tends to be a lot.
Just you wait until Law and Order, we've finished the first intro 5 chapter, the first big story arc, and then I start fucking with characters individually. And you're gonna find someone from Gabe's past shows up, and I'm gonna get Chris Raygun to play him.
I know it'll be hard to get Chris to do that, but he'll also be like, yes, I'll do it.
He would be, yeah. I've spoken to a few people who have had a bit of banter with some of our players, and I've just slipped into their DMs with yo, you know how you threatened to do this to them? Do you want to join in as a guest on Law and Order sometime next year and actually do that to the character? And they were like, I am so down!
Oh my god, it's gonna be Derek, it's gonna be some black guy, or it's gonna be fucking Chris, and you guys are just they're gonna make me hate myself, and I'm like, yay.
What I want from you is just those angry looking slow claps where you're like, I fucking hate you and well played. That to me, that is ambrosia to my DM spirit.
That's the best kind of moment. You're just like, I hate this, but also this is fucking amazing.
Yeah. Ask me next time about I can't even the island of Rennick. I did that. I did a couple of I started a campaign for the guy who made the setting. And
really?
Yeah, so this was in the Neverwinter Nights days. This guy made this whole island, towns. He'd already run a campaign on it, and then we were tooling around on it, and all the players were like, oh my god, Reddick's online, and they just started logging in. They're like, what's going on? Reddick's back! And this guy's like, I'm like, don't worry, I got a story idea. Just run with me. And I ran this thing, I ran this session, it was great, and I was like, so what are we doing? Same time next week, everyone's in, and then I just ran another session, and it was completely unrelated to the first. And then at the end of the first at the end of that 3 or 4 hours of play, an NPC dropped a single line. And that single line, one of these guys was just like, and I just get this private message from him in Neverwinter Nights going, golf claps, well played. Turns out that second session was absolutely related to the first one. There was just this slightly tangential overlap, and that set the stage for the rest of the campaign.
That's pretty dope.
That's the stuff I love. I love making players go, wait a minute. It's like the Sixth Sense, where you're you got to replay everything and go, fuck. That's the shit for me.
Right there the whole time. That's super dope.
That's DM porn for me, Alright, I'm gonna get some rest. I'm gonna hydrate my body and probably catch up with my IRL D&D group, still online because lockdown.
Alright, it's been super dope. I'm glad everybody tuned in. Thank you guys for tuning in. Super appreciate it. I'll be seeing you guys on Tuesday for more Lore and Order.
Alright, and never forget, all Watchmen are bastards.